All right, welcome to my video to help you navigate the SA Pro training app if you are working without a trainer actively creating exercises for you. So this application actually has an algorithm that's included that can kind of help guide your training, which is great, and why you are likely using it. So we're going to go over how to utilize this application. Again, when you're not working with a trainer one-on-one for daily creation of exercises, but the application is guiding you. Now, this is your home screen. So if it's your first time logging in, it'll look a little different since this application account has 11 exercises created, but you can see that you have your progress written out. So there's aced it, okay, struggled. It kind of shows how many exercises have gone that way. And this is sort of how you do want it to look. You really want to see more aced it and okay than anything else, especially those aced it. And then if you scroll down a bit, you can actually see your training summarized in the past week, or if you click all, it'll show your training overall. And what you'll see is kind of hopefully an upward curve. Now, this is great because separation anxiety training can kind of ebb and flow. There could be good weeks and bad weeks, but overall, you do want to see that line trending up. And you'll also see your last best duration, including the date that it happened. So this is a really nice feature to land on at your home page. What you'll mostly be using in this application is your training page down here. So at the bottom, we see that we have a number of icons. I'll go through them really quickly, but we'll focus more on the training. So we'll come back to that one. But history over here, if you click, this is where you will see your training history by departures, and door is a bore. So you can see the number of exercises that you did, departures as well. And you'll also see if you've worked with a trainer, you would see kind of little note bubbles there that just kind of indicate where you've gotten feedback from a trainer. If you're mostly working with this application solo, you won't see those notes in that popping up in that window. If you go to the chat, this is where you would chat with the trainer who has set you up. If I'm the one who set you up with this account, because you've worked with me and you're now moving on to working solo, or perhaps you're in one of my group programs, this is not the best way to get a hold of me, but other trainers that you have signed up with may prefer that you connect with them this way. And then activity, this is really great. The application's kind of been gamified, so you can see your badges that you'll get over time. If you want to add friends who are also on the application, your goals and streaks, and then your settings, finally, where you edit your profile and so on. So with your training here, this is where you'll do most of your work. So if you're at door is a bore, you would click here. And essentially what you can select from is a list of steps. So perhaps you are starting right at the basics and just walking to the door, but stopping 6 feet short, and that's okay. That's where you are. If you want to see other steps, you just click on them. See, it says walk to the door, turn to press door handle, return, and so on. So you find the one that you are wanting to work on, and you're going to hit go. So this application automatically sets up 10 repetitions, but you do not have to do 10. So if you've only got a time for a few, you do that. So what you do is you hit rep 1. Every time you go to the door, open the door, close the door, and return. Always remember to take at least 30 to 60 seconds in between steps for any separation anxiety training. And let's say we're going to do 5 repetitions. That's all you had time for. You're going to hit complete exercise. And then you make sure that the time is logged properly, and you're going to tell the application how it went. This is very important because the algorithm will calculate things based on how it went. So how did your dog do? Let's say they aced it. Notes here are also important. Even if you're just doing this on your own and you're not actively working one-on-one with a trainer, if you do end up deciding to work with a trainer, this is a spot where a trainer can go in and look at the notes that you've had, or even for yourself. This data tracking is really important with this kind of training. So you would add any notes you have, then you hit save. Now, a lot of you might actually just be starting with departures. Not everybody starts with the door as a bore. If you're starting with departures, you're going to go and select that. So at the top, really importantly, it tells you your last target duration and your last actual duration. Now the application is suggesting a time of 1 minute 30. Now this was done because the last exercise that was logged said that the dog aced it. So again, that rating at the end is really, really critical for how the algorithm works. If you feel really good and you're like, yeah, my dog did great last time and they look just as calm and just as ready, then you're going to go and just leave it as is. If your dog kind of struggled, you might go make it easier so it'll automatically drop it for you. Or maybe you feel you can work on a different time for some reason. You can do your custom duration. You can also select a custom number of warm-ups. So the application will automatically generate an exercise, but it is not always a one-size-fits-all, which is why separation anxiety training is so often done with a trainer one-on-one. Some dogs will do really well with a lot of warm-ups and some dogs won't. So if you know that your dog does very poorly with a lot of warm-ups and you know this application is going to give you a lot of warm-ups, you would select custom and put the number that your dog is good with, or vice versa. Maybe your dog needs a lot more warm-ups than the application is giving you. That's where you would customize it here. So I'm just going to let it kind of ride with what it suggests and hit go. So that has suggested that 1 minute 30, and then we can see that step 8. So there's 7 warm-ups ahead. So at the top of this application page, it's wonderful. There's a timer built in. So it's always important to use a timer when doing separation anxiety training. We're not always very good when we count. So we need to make sure to get it right. So you can start your timer if you need to, and you must follow the steps one after another. As you can see, you can't just go and click everything. So what's important here for you is, again, keeping notes. Every step, make sure that you keep notes as to what you saw in your dog's body language. This is going to help you spot things down the line that perhaps you miss, but you're starting to learn as you go, and you can see why your dog is struggling. So once step 1 is completed, I hit the check mark and step 2 opens. Now to get the note box back, I just hit that plus, it opens up. Here is where I put my notes, and I'm going to click the check mark. And I'm going to do this through every warm-up. Now keep in mind that every single warm-up needs that 30 seconds to 60 seconds break in between. So some dogs will need a slightly longer break as well. It's all dependent on the dog, but most of them need 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Now at the bottom, this is your last step. So this is really your challenge time. So make sure to write notes as to what you saw, because you'll usually see quite a bit more here. All right. And in the previous steps, if your dog was doing the same thing every time, you can always just write same as above, but it's important to kind of take those notes as you go. And then finally, step 8 is done. I'm going to hit complete exercise. And here is a very critical step. So again, making sure that date and time is correct. If you're doing this in the application live, it should be all accurate, but you're going to rate how things went. And like I said, this is how the application decides what to do next time. So it's really important that you note it properly. If your dog struggled, be honest, write that they struggled. If they kind of, teetered on not quite aced it, but, wasn't great, then it's an okay. And then aced it, they aced it, and great job. It's really not worth lying here. That's not going to get you any further in the separation anxiety training. So let the application do what it's supposed to do by giving it the right data so that it can do its job. Finally, it's really good to write some notes here, especially if things are kind of unusual, if there's something different happening that day. So maybe your dog got into a little scuffle with a dog that morning, or perhaps there's construction work happening in your building. These are factors that can impact separation anxiety training. I also always recommend documenting how much exercise they've had that day. For some dogs, that's a sensitive factor. And finally, I also recommend adding who participated in the training. All of this in your notes gives you a point to go back to look at variables. If you're kind of struggling, or maybe you're plateaued, or you're having kind of repeat failures, this is a spot to keep a log so that you can have that information when you need it. Finally, you'll hit save and you have completed an exercise. So great job. And that is how you use the application on your own. So every day that you are doing your training, you'll come in, hit departures, and you go from there. And as you can see, it's already suggested a higher target because we had rated it as aced it. So trust the application, but most importantly, put the right data in it. And then happy training. If you are, working with this application through myself, you can reach out to Stoke Dogs for some help if you need to. Otherwise, best of luck. Take it one day at a time, and make sure that you move at your dog's pace.